Mr. Chair.
Catherine Delahunty.
Oh, no. Kia ora, Mr. Chair. I was in my room and I was moved to come down to the House in support of students across the country to talk about the title of this bill, which could be called the Education Massage the Coalition Partner Bill, or it could be called just the VSM, the Very Silly Measure, or it could be called Freedom for the Privileged Student Bill, because I did sit on the Select Committee, and until Gareth Hughes took over because he came to Parliament and he was our closest one to being a student, I sat and listened to the submissions, and they touch a portfolio that I'm responsible for, which is the issue of disability. And a number of the submitters came forward and talked about the value of the student unions as advocates for the most vulnerable students in the university. And yes, it's fine if you are totally able-bodied, well-heeled, confident, raised speaking the English language from the word dot, and understand how institutions work. It's fine for you. In fact, it's a fantastic environment. But if you happen to be vulnerable in any way, university can be a very vulnerable and daunting experience. And one of the things that the groups told us who made those submissions was that those people needed advocacy. They needed advocacy. They needed somebody to stand up to the university at times and speak for them when nobody else understood their issues. And that's what we're going to lose. And I know that students these days are not only highly stressed by their debt burden, but they're also stressed by an environment, for some of them, which does not recognise their needs. And that's why advocacy is always important. But I don't expect the ACT Party to understand that, because they have an interesting fantasy world around freedom and choice. And it's always a fantasy about how the individual survival of the fittest model will really work for everybody, even though that's failed again and again. And this bill is about to reintroduce failure into universities for many people. So we're going to lose the advocacy for the vulnerable, such as people with disabilities who have difficulty on campus. And they spoke highly of their student unions as advocates. The other people that spoke to us were the Pacific groups and the Māori groups, again, often marginalised inside Pākehā universities. And of course, some of the people who were the individuals who spoke for the bill, they weren't from those groups. They weren't speaking for groups at all. Most of them spoke as me, because it's okay for me. That's what the world's about, me. It's all right for me to come in and get what I want from a system and not pay for it and not expect to be part of the collective and not care about the disabled student or the Māori and Pacific groups or the other groups of my ethnic minorities in the university. It's okay, because I'm okay. And that's what it's about for some people. But actually, the tradition in the universities through the student unions has been to look after the more vulnerable and provide things that they do not get. So we're going to lose those things. And one of the arguments put up by some of these people was, oh, but if people really want this, and the ACT Party put it up as well, if you really want this, you can pay for it. Isn't that about freedom and choice, Mr. Chair? Freedom and choice is that those who can pay for it will pay for it, and those who can't can go without. And that's the model that we are going to perpetuate if this bill gets passed tonight. And so if you're going to have to pay for every individual service that people who are on the university now have to create for themselves and find a way to do on top of everything else, you are going to make those students who are already vulnerable miss out. But then that doesn't matter, because that's freedom and that's choice, and I'm all right, Jack. That's the philosophy. That's the philosophy of choice. Because choice is one of those Orwellian words, Mr. Chair. It's an Orwellian word, and this is an Orwellian titled bill. This bill is titled in a way that George Orwell would really relate to, because it is the opposite of what it is. It's some are more equal and have more choices than others. In university bill, we should call it that, because that's what it's about. And that's fine for those of you who can pay for everything that you've got. But if you pay a tiny amount for a student fee, you might be able to get an advocate. You might be able to have a club that you can afford to participate in. But no, it's only going to be for those who can afford it. So the Green Party has been consistent in our position on this bill, and we have opposed it consistently because we want to see those clubs and we want to see those advocates supported in the university. And there were many not particularly politicised students who came and said that they needed the services for practical reasons and they were going to lose them.
Joe Goodhue.